Well, hello everyone, and welcome to episode number 27 of the Nosedive podcast. My name is Vinie Vizzle, and I have Mark right beside me. Mark, how have you been?
If you'd seen the message before, I've been all right. I've been better. My knee, my hand,
busy?
and my elbow has certainly been better. For a bit of context, ladies and gentlemen, I might have taken what was probably, you know what? When it happened, I literally went, this is the first proper nosedive I've done for ages. And I immediately thought, as somebody mentioned in my WhatsApp chat, at least you got something to talk about on the podcast.
Yeah.
So yeah, my board just cut out on me. Just
no coming through action.
Yeah, it just, so I changed. I've got some FST footpads.
Yeah.
Got some new footholds. I wanted to take them off to show everyone, but some 3D printed footholds from my mate Ben printed me some, and they're absolutely fantastic. And yeah, the board, the sensors weren't picking up when I was on the pads all the time, and I couldn't get going. And literally, my dad said, "Oh, can you take the car to the garage?" I was like, "Excellent. I can ride the board back. It's only a couple of miles, like 100 yards of road, and then the rest is trails. It's a nice little ride back. 10 meters out away from the mechanics, the board just went, and I went,
threw you off.
Proper nosedive, hands out to the front. Thank God I had wrist guards on.
Okie doke. Yeah.
Proper little slide. Phone went out the back pocket. The Tesco, the supermarket delivery van swerved my phone as he came round the corner. I was like, "Thank you for that, mate. Appreciate that."
Yeah, we all have to endure it sometime.
Yeah,
it comes with the game, and that's how we learn and get to know the board. Yeah. Was it the FST footpads? Was it the sensor? Was it the cold?
Yeah,
we'll never know.
Yeah, to be tested. It's too wet to try it out, and I got to sit there. I don't think it was cold because the board wasn't cold. The board stored inside the house, so it could be the FST footpads just not being sensitive enough or being too sensitive. My heel just lifted and it cut, but. I was riding up and down at Shred the Shires on the land the day before. Not a problem.
If you look at one of my latest videos, the one with the drift trike that we tested, I had a similar problem with his GTS Rally Edition. I wanted to follow him with the smoke flares, and the moment that I got onto it, I was giving some gas, and suddenly after 5 meters, it just hit the ground, threw me off. And with the FST footpads, I'm not used to riding with that, so I kind of hurt my ankle just trying to step off because I'm not used to having them there. So it's kind of tricky, and the sensors of the Pint and the GT are still not my cup of tea. I'm so used to the XR sensors and the engagement that you have on that, especially on tricks. You want them to be there whenever you want them to be, and that's where the XR footpads still shine for me. It's a world of difference.
Yeah, interesting. So people, if you're listening, and put a little comment onto the YouTube or onto the Spotify, let us know if your FST footpads have done that, because now Vinny's saying it. Cause it's never happened before. Didn't happen when I had a stock GT. Hasn't happened since I fungineered and VESC'd my GT. Now I changed the footpads. Bang. Kicked my ass.
Ouch.
In fact, my ass does hurt a little bit because I hit my hip. How have you been? You've been busy, man. You've been busy with all the little cooking in the kitchen has come to fruition.
Yeah, the community asks, so we provide, and we found a very cool spot where we tested the drift trike in Bruges. It's actually an indoor and a sheltered area where the EUC community has access to, and they often go there on Sunday to play with their toys. And it's a perfect ground for winter shredding. And I asked the people there if we could do a little freestyle session. And we actually had the idea of inviting people to bring their own freestyle feature so that we can throw down a little park and that people can learn from each other with the different obstacles. If they have questions on that obstacle that they bring, we can provide them with some tips and tricks. So it's a cool initiative, a first time that we do it. So we'll see how many people come onto that, because freestyle is not the most popular thing, but I've noticed that a lot of people do want to learn some stuff on that. So we want to provide that.
And that's this Sunday, isn't it?
This Sunday, yeah.
Yep. I'm planning to be super quick. This is me holding myself accountable now. I say that all the fucking time. I'll get it out really quick. But I am planning to edit this Friday to get it out Friday night. That is my plan. That's my intention. Whether or not work gets in the way, bloody work, I don't know. But you've got the other thing is the underground trails, the underground league that you're doing, the pre-season warm-up.
Yeah, we have a crew in Holland, Stoke Seekers, which is led by Muddy, and they have some of the most unique and awesome trail system in the lowlands, I think. And the cool thing about that is it's a bit more up north, so it's a bit colder, and the trails are really hard. They are well maintained. There was even one time a little machine that was running on the trail to take off the leaves. So they really have,
Wow.
they really have it dialed in there. And it's a whole network around Utrecht where you have a lot of forests, and it's one big roller coaster on the one wheel. It's really cool, up and down, very flowy trails, and a very cool crew that they have there. These guys are always stoked. And we've always wanted to do something together. So Alexis has taken the initiative together with Muddy to set up some segments in 3 areas in Utrecht. So there's actually 15 segments that you can do. And the best 7 segments will count at the end of the league, which will be a very good preparation for people in the lowlands who want to go racing.
Yeah.
You really can up your racing game and test how you stack up against all the other riders.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. A little pre-season warm-up for everybody, a little bit of practice, a little bit of training getting in there. I like it. I like it. Speaking of pre-season, in the last episode, for those of you that listened to it, I went on a bit of a rant about how the ORL hadn't announced any dates or anything like that.
They still haven't.
Well, well, sort of.
I checked the website. It's still coming soon. So what's going on there?
Sort of has. I've got a list here, but ironically, literally, 2 days later, I know some people were putting there that there was a list on the Float Life website. And I think Vid said in the chat actually that there was a list on the Float Life website. And then our guest, who is waiting in the wings right now, and I'll let him in a second, then put a video out about all of the different events that are happening.
Yeah.
Getting ahead of the game. So well done for everyone listening to my complaint. I feel as though I was very, very just answering my question. I think it's just great minds are sitting there going, the fuck are these events, man? But so what we'll do with that in mind, we will let our guest in. Let's see if he's ready for us. We're going to see him pop in any second now.
Hello.
There we go.
Nico Aleman, how are you today?
My audio good?
Yeah.
Doing all right. Can you guys hear me?
We can indeed. Sure. How are you?
Doing all right. How about you guys?
Chilly Willy.
Yeah, we're not bad. I've just bitched about how my board nosedived on me yesterday. So I won't repeat myself, but I am covered in cuts on my hand and elbow and stuff like that. I was geared up. I didn't say that to everybody. I was wearing a tack jacket, helmet, wrist guards, gloves, didn't have my knee pads on, but I was wearing thick jeans, and I just have a bunch of friction burns rather than a whole bunch of cuts.
Hey, so, fitting for the podcast.
Absolutely. Yeah. As I said, it was the first thing I thought about was not nosedived in a while, something to chat about for once, you know? Oh, dear.
Glad you're still here with us.
Absolutely. Yeah. I hate tarmac. I've always said I hate tarmac, and I very rarely ride on the road. It was a short stretch, and now I still hate tarmac. I was starting to get used to it. I was starting to get comfortable. I prefer trails and fields, but hey, we learn.
I'm the same way. I don't know the last time I bailed on street. It's been a couple years, but that's mostly because I specifically stay away from the streets for the most part nowadays.
Yeah, I saw this dude shredding on ice this week. He was blasting, man. And
something
if you
like
bail,
53, 54 miles an hour. They say that they were saying the ice was like smooth as butter. So I know ice can like sometimes be rough. They were saying it was totally clear. So if they bailed, it would have just been like nothing. I don't know how much I trust that, but that's their problem, not mine.
Yeah. That's it.
Part of me wants to have seen the slide. Part of me wants to have seen the bail and, you know, maybe, I don't know.
There was no bail section, unfortunately. Before we dive into things, Nico, please introduce yourself for the people who don't know who you are.
For sure. Yeah, my name is Nico Aleman. I've been in the Onewheel community since mid-2019. So coming up on almost 7 years of riding now, which is crazy. And been racing and going to events and things like that since 2021, which is really when like the race scene started really picking up with Onewheel Race League and dirt surfers and everything like that, at least over here in the States. And beginning in 2024, I graduated with a degree in computer science and moved out from Ohio to California to work with the Float Life. So ever since then, I've been the software engineer for the Float Life. One of my biggest projects being the Float Hub app, which allows you to set up VESC boards from scratch pretty easily.
Thank you.
More
Personally, thank
foolproof,
you.
for
Thank you
sure.
so much for that.
Yeah. And then the last year, I've also had tons of effort put into Wheelie Fun Bike, which is a self-balancing wheelie bike. We're coming out with shipping pretty dang soon now. We're on the home stretch, just wrapping up that project, but that's been really fun.
Yeah.
Really
So
fun.
you really can use all your skills that of the stuff that you learned into the Float Life, which is cool.
Yeah, it's totally been a dream come true, kind of combining all my skills with like the degree I was learning and my hobby and sport that I'm involved in. It just became a sort of like stars aligning once the GT came out, because they came out with the GT and I just were riding the XR for a couple years, and as small of a guy as I am, I just couldn't do it. That was not the board for me. So I
Nope.
instead went the
Same
route
here.
of doing everything I could to make the XR what I needed it to be to still be like racing capable.
Yeah.
That is really
same here.
the planets aligning for you. Because I remember, I think I saw an episode of the Pushback Army podcast where you were on there, and you gave the whole background of you were at university and you had scooters and stuff like that, and then you saw someone riding a one wheel, and you've gone from that to now working at the Float Life using that same degree that you probably didn't go to university to go, you know, I wonder if I'll be able to use this to make personalized electric vehicle things work.
Oh yeah, no, not at all.
You know, it's a weird, just kind of the planets aligning quite nicely for you, really. It's fantastic, man.
Yeah, there was actually a small bit of time that I wanted to go to school for like music production. I was into that for a while, and eventually I was like, I should probably get something that's related enough that I can sort of use those skills in the same field, but it still acts as like a safety net, just a safer degree. And then I ended up actually really liking software and programming and things like that. So yeah, it's just been a sort of domino effect that's led me to where I am now.
That's awesome. And you mentioned the XR platforming, that you've been trying to make that work for you still. What is your current setup that you're riding?
Like always, it's XR platform for sure. I just feel way more comfortable on it. It feels like it's an extension of your body rather than when I'm on a GT or a float wheel. It feels those bulkier boards feel more like you're riding on top of something rather than like sitting in it, you know. So XR platform, I've been running BTG steep and deep rails for 2 or 3 years now. So extended rails to fit a larger tire, and then the steep and deep, just some nice symmetrical rail angle, pretty aggressive angles. Run, I can't remember what axle block. I think I'm just running old crazy hubs from Tech Rails for the axle blocks that allow me to drop it half an inch. So I get less clearance but more stability. I run a BKB Voyager tilt remote. So that with that lesser clearance, I can instead control the board's angle in real time to make up for that clearance issue. I'm going to be switching it up throughout the season. Half the time, I'm going to be running a Pint S series motor, which is 6-inch with the BTG Thundercat. And then half of it, I'm going to be running a 5-inch MTE hub and 52 magnets with the new 5-inch BTG Pioneer, because that thing just eats chunk like nothing.
Really?
It is a Pioneer, so it's a bit more of that like stable squared off shape. It's more of like a straight line tank through everything tire, while the Thundercats, especially for a BTG tire, the Thundercat is a lot more nimble. You can whip it around turns, carry speed into turns more. So it's really going to be like terrain, trail dependent on which one I'm running. I mean, what else? Bang bumpers. The controller I'm running is Thor 400. It's been solid for me for the past year and a half or so. And then 32S battery, S1P, so 134 volts. I know some people are doing like split packs, 32S 2P. I like to keep my board as light as possible, especially with like the jumps I do and whatnot. I just like to be able to throw the board around however I need. I'm only 105 pounds. I try to keep it light. Oh, and Kush hooks. I've been running Kush hooks for the past year, which are new footholds that they've been prototypes for so long, but we're finally coming up on releasing them. We actually released a small batch for GT, but they're footholds we designed that work in tandem with the Kush footpads front and back. that we've released a couple small batches for GT, but we've been having like production issues and things like that. So that's why you haven't really seen them still.
Yeah.
Finally clearing that up. And actually, I think we're closer to wrapping up on the XR ones than GT.
Okay.
Again, I don't want to give any dates or promises because that's bit us in the ass in the past. But it's really looking solid right now. So I think we're on that home stretch. And once we get those pads out, the hooks are going to come out probably basically at the same time. And I'm just loving those hooks. I'm obviously biased because I helped design them, but I can't go back to any other one. It really makes the board feel like an extension of your body. You're just locked in when you need to be, but you can bail out if you need to.
I had a little
You
look
can
on
really
the,
throw the board around.
I had a look on the Float Life website today, and I saw the hooks on there.
Mm-hmm.
And they did, annoyingly, I looked at them and go, oh, they're good. Now that I've just fitted some FST pads and had some 3D printed Dragon Dragon footholds put onto my board, which is called Why I Bloody Nosedived. I think those fucking FST pads. And then I saw that, I was like, are you kidding me? But I'm not going to spend out even more hundreds of dollars. I'll get the other ones.
That's totally fair. Yeah, both of them are definitely full like foot pad foot hook systems. Like it all works. It's kind of like you're buying into one or the other like ecosystem. The main thing I like about the Kush pads is you can take off the foothold mount super easily, and when you do, they're still amazing as just like normal foot pads. The FSTs are of course plastic. They sit a little higher than the normal foot pads and they're flatter.
Yep.
So the Kush is just the same Kush we've been rocking for years. So it feels nice and comfortable.
It's my biggest frustration when I saw them, because I have had Kush pads on my Pint. I've got Kush pads on my son's XR. My other son's got a Pint. On the GT, I had them. So I still got them. In fact, they're in a box right here next to me, because if I can't get the FST pads working, I'm just going to switch them back again.
Yeah.
But, I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. So you've been the whole point, ladies and gents, tonight is that Nico's going to talk about the US events, because that was my gripe in the last episode. We will get there at some point. I've also told my girlfriend we're going to be here for a long time, probably not normal.
It's a lot to go through. We're trying to cover worldwide.
A lot to go through. Talk us through the development of that Kush Footholds then, because that's from nothing to a product is quite an adventure, I imagine.
Oh, totally. The amount of iterations we went through with that hook shape I wish I kept track. I have a whole bin somewhere of just a bunch of different 3D printed hooks that we tried over. It's probably a solid half year of just like iterations every 2 days, but that started little over a year ago. And the main idea was to have a foothold that's really easy to install. It's accessible, that matches what I was used to, which was I was running Control Freaks for the longest time. So those use Dragon Hook V1s, sort of similar to the more accessible Dragon Hook V2s that you can still get now, but they have a bit more of an angle to them, a bit more locked in. But still, for the most part, they're like very minimalist hooks, where I like the idea of a hook that like you can't get lazy with. You have to be actively pushing outward to be like really locked into them. And then if you're doing that, you've got as much lock in as you need, but you have to be like exerting that force, because what that does is, one, it makes it way easier to bail, because in a bail situation, you naturally relieve that pressure and then you can just run out of the board. Obviously not as easy as no foot hooks, but easier than something a lot more aggressive, right? And then when you're pushing outwards like that, it's kind of teaching you good technique, right? It's teaching you to like keep an athletic stance and be constantly pushing out and engaging with the board and just leveraging it in everything you do. Like it actually becomes kind of a workout, like constantly exerting that pressure, especially at first. But for me, that like when I started running Control Freaks and learning that technique, that's what totally changed my riding. I was a fairly mediocre rider and racer up until I started running Control Freaks and getting used to that technique. And once I did, I was starting to actually like win races or podium races and things like that. So I got hooked on that style of foothold. Especially, it's also one of the few foothold sets that you can have a natural, like rather than having like a parallel stance, your front foot is angled and it still gives you that support in your heel that you can brace against. I know there's a lot of like hooks that are kind of just go over your toes and then your foot can angle whichever way. So I like something I can fully brace against. And the only thing that for me was missing from Control Freaks outside of just being not accessible, like you had to DIY them. So outside of the accessibility, the one thing that was missing for me was something that can go over the bridge of your foot. So most hooks just kind of go over here.
Yeah.
But having a hook that matches the shape of the shoe, like it continues that shape and grabs onto the bridge of your foot right here, allows you to push into toe side turns without your heel coming off the board. I know a lot of people will probably know that feeling of like trying to do a steep toe side turn and you're just like hanging on with your toes and your heel's like completely off the board. So with these hooks, that hook over the bridge of your foot keeps your heel totally planted, and you have full like contact between the bottom of your shoe and the foot pad, which means you're going to be able to keep that board stable. You're fully in control. Even with a stable tire, I'm able to whip the board around like I'd never been able to before. So it's just made the ride experience so much more fun for me. Even on streets, like just being able to whip around rough streets with potholes and things and not really having to worry that something will catch me off guard and I'll get completely wiped out. As long as I'm like just staying engaged with the board, being like athletic with how I'm riding, I'm locked into those things. So I love them. They're so comfortable. And I guess the biggest comparison you can make is FSTs, because that's like you said, it's a whole like foot pad setup. You can customize them to fit your foot and whatnot. My one gripe with those is it really has like pressure points on like certain parts of your foot, because they made them to be like pretty general hooks that will like fit most people without adjustment. But yeah, that creates those like little pressure points that really dig into my feet and a lot of other people I've talked to. So with our hooks, we've designed them in the way that there's just enough adjustability, that there's some importance to getting them adjusted right. But when you do, it's like equal pressure across the entirety of your foot. So you don't feel that pressure point. It's extremely comfortable and just kind of disappears in the ride. And I keep saying it, but it really just adds on to that like feeling of the board being an extension of your body. You really just feel connected and like one. It's really cool.
No, I'm making some mental notes here, and my friend Ben, who 3D printed my footholds, Ben, we just need to make the hook at the back of the foot just slightly further over the top over my laces. Now Ben will listen to this so he can make the adjustments in his 3D print. It takes about 8 hours to print a foothold for me, so
I've seen some people in the DIY community like taking note and doing the same thing, and they've been loving it themselves. So even though we haven't been able to get these hooks out as fast as I wanted to, since we're delayed with the foot pads, there's definitely other people that are like resonating with that sort of design choice. I'm surprised more people haven't done it in the past. We really did kind of just like model it after a shoe. It took a lot of like specific tweaking from there.
It looks like a pocket. It looks like a bit of a pocket, really.
Exactly. It's like it really, like when you get into the foot pads, it really is a pocket you just slide into. That's also a nice thing if you like lose your foot position or something, you don't even have to look down. It's so natural just to find that pocket again, because you can feel when you're like in the perfect position and then it just wants to hold. So I love it. I'm rambling, but I can't express enough how much I love those footholds. They're amazing.
I'm still yet to be convinced on the foothold thing, because I still like to play around with my feet a lot. But I'm also not that big of a racer, so that might be the thing. But the kind of things that I do, my foot need freedom.
Yeah, it's a totally different style of riding. And honestly, again, I mentioned it earlier, but it's just a couple screws you take out and the mount comes right off, and then you're riding with normal Kush foot pads. So I still like riding without footholds too, from time to time, and it's so easy to throw them on and off. And at the end of the day, it's a totally different style of riding. I like to compare it to like snowboarding with like bindings versus like skateboarding or longboarding. Like it's just a different feel for sure.
Yeah, agree with that.
Excellent, man. God, who thought we'd spend about 20 minutes talking about footholds this evening? But I am fully in the foothold gang now. So, but we brought you along tonight because, as I say, in the last episode, I had a bit of a gripe in that the EOL, the European Onewheel League, nicely laid out, all the events spread out nicely, with some side events going on, stuff like that. And we wanted to have a chat because we had Vid, who's been to, what did we say, 30 different events?
30 in total.
30 in total in Europe and in the States, because he flies with his board everywhere. So we wanted to talk about a few of the American events, but when I went to go and find out when they all were, I couldn't. It was actually Vid in the chat that went, oh, the Float Life have got a list. And then 2 days later, you bring out your video just breaking everything down really quite nicely. And we'll link it into the to the Instagram and stuff like that and on YouTube for it. But it was a really nice sort of quick 9-minute breakdown of here's all the events. So as soon as I saw that, I was like, right, we need to message Nico and we need to come on and do a good EOL meeting. And then, not really, it's not ORL because the
Not
EOL
anymore.
events, we don't have that many. There's 5, maybe?
Seven,
I think, this year, with a few little side events as well. But over in the States, there are, well, I've got a list here. There's a lot. I didn't actually count them, but there are a lot of different events going on, but only a few of them, 3 of them, are actual ORL events. Have I got that right so far?
Yep. So you guys kind of have the luxury of being totally unified under that EOL umbrella. Everyone's kind of on the same page. For us in the States, the race, like I said, the race season started really picking up in 2021 for us. And at the same exact time, that's when Onewheel Racing League was a thing. And of course, there wasn't even like VESC boards or anything like that back then. So there was no reason to not be on the ORL train, right? So for a solid like 2021 through 2023 especially, basically everyone was on that train. Everyone was fully relying on ORL, and ORL and the community events were all working together to create this sort of unified structure. And it was great. Now that we have VESC boards and different people have different ideas of the kinds of boards they want to race on and whatnot, while a lot of those boards don't fly under ORL regulations. So that kind of creates this divide. So now you've got people going against the grain and forming their own race circuits that aren't ORL. And then you have races that support ORL, like they're involved, but they also have separate open classes that aren't ORL classes. And it's this whole like kind of jumbled mess. We're at a point where we have like one side circuit besides ORL, but for the most part, it makes most sense to kind of just look at events individually. Like even with ORL, now they've done away with the ranking system, at least for now. So they're going back to a structure where there's 3 events that have ORL classes you can race in. And if you race well in those in just one of those races, you qualify for Race of the Rail. So it's like, I think top 8 pros, it depends on which ORL class you're in, how many like qualify, but a certain amount of people in each ORL class qualify if you rank top at, let's say, Dirt Surfers or Wheel Scorcher. So you only have to go to technically one of them and do well to qualify, or you can skip all of them and just go straight to Race of the Rail and try to qualify there. So it's set up in a way so that you don't have to go to a ton of events, especially with the number of events we have now and everything. We found it to be counterproductive to like give big incentive to like come out to multiple, because that was just discouraging people from participating at all if they feel like they have no chance at Race for the Rail or anything like that. So I think we have more of a focus now on just the individual events. So we have ORL. Go on.
There is that momentum as well. And there certainly is in Europe. It's certainly picking up in certain areas as in the States, in that it doesn't have to be a sanctioned race to draw people to go to an event, because the enjoyment is going to the event, and just so happen to have maybe an ORL race or a league race in there. It's got that momentum now. All the events have got a bit of structure to them and history to them, and people want to attend because it's bloody good fun.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think there was this sort of misconception for a while that like some events kind of felt pressured that they had to go all in on like the ORL participation and kind of run things Onewheel's way, because they felt like that was needed to like get the publicity and get people out to the race. But we've had tons of super successful events that weren't involved with ORL at all. And at the end of the day, especially the past 2 years, Onewheel hasn't really done much of any marketing to like help people come out to these events outside of Race for the Rail. Back in the day, they used to do like multiple like sort of podcast episodes throughout the season with season updates and
Yeah.
talking about different races going on. And I miss that, honestly. I really hope they're able to do something like that with the couple ORL races they have this year, because I think that really helped unify things and help people get engaged with the broader like racing scene. But I think now events are realizing that they can kind of stand out on their own just based on the reputation they have, and almost benefit more from like going all in on that and doing things their way. So that's kind of what we're seeing with the West Coast and the best of the West League, where they completely step back from RL. They're opening things up completely and doing their own circuit where, there's just like there's unity in the regulations across all three races, but those regulations are also very broad, and for the most part it is like an open class circuit. So I think it'll be cool to have that running alongside ORL and see what participation looks like and see how that goes.
It doesn't make any sense that, I mean, business wise for Onewheel, it would make sense to support as many events as they can. Obviously there's a financial cost to all of these things, but even just an element of extra promotion for those, because yes, a lot of those races are now not sticking to the ORL standards of a stock board, for want of a better phrase, and people going down VESC routes and all the rest of it. But it would still sell Onewheels, because if you're getting someone new, it's unless they know someone in the community that's really good at doing VESC stuff, that you're not going to go, I think my first board is going to be a VESC. It's going to be a stock board, whether that's secondhand or used or buying brand spanking new. It would still sell more boards. It shouldn't matter that it's not a one-wheel stock race, but that's potentially the mindset of the business model they run, that it has to be their way or no way.
Yeah, I understand some elements of their thinking. It feels like they're shooting themselves in the foot a bit with how they're going about things. Because so right now, the three like ORL sanctioned races throughout the season, those races have open classes, and then they have their ORL classes. In those ORL classes, you have to follow Race for the Rail rules. So only OEM parts. You cannot have aftermarket accessories, with some small exceptions like tires. And I think technically you could run like bang bumpers and get away with it. But for the most part, OEM accessories. And in a perfect world where there's a million one-wheelers and like participation isn't an issue, I do think that's a really great idea of separation, especially if they're going to have their own race with Race for the Rail. Like, it makes sense to run it that way and sort of have like a stock option that is more welcoming and easier to get into if you're like starting from scratch, less intimidating than these open classes, right? That said, we're in a position where a lot of the enthusiast riders that would come out to these events already have somewhat built out boards that have likely some kind of aftermarket accessory that they like and that they like to ride, especially when it comes to footholds. And so they're putting people in this position where if they want to participate, they're creating an additional paywall of their own almost, that you have to buy all new parts to follow these regulations in order to fit into this ORL class. I just feel like it's going to create this weird divide where not nearly enough people are going to sign up for specifically the ORL classes. I just feel like there's not enough people that are going to be wanting to specifically follow those regulations, and spend money building their board out that way. Because like FSTs, for example, would basically be a requirement if you're trying to be competitive in that, right? And then, so you're going to have these oral classes that are more empty than they probably should be. And then Onewheel's going to see that and be like, this isn't working, or else probably just not worth investing into anyway, like at all. And then just ditch the whole thing in a year or two, which I'm worried about. I feel like if they just kept things open, sort of similar to how they did last year, but just focusing on investing into the events and marketing to actually make people aware of these events and get people out to them. I just think, like, if you see people running, like you said, if you see people running on what looks like a one wheel, people aren't picking that apart and being like,
Yep.
oh, that's a Fungineers X7. That's the one I'm going to get. Honestly, even Race for the Rail, if they really wanted to and just opened it up, like, yeah, any layperson that's watching Race for the Rail hosted by Onewheel and sees people riding these self-balancing electric skateboards, they're just going to say, oh, those are Onewheels. That's cool. I'm going to get a Onewheel.
We all call them that.
Doesn't matter how kitted out they are.
Yep, no matter where you go, no matter what your setup is, no matter, nobody goes along and go, oh, I've got a 32p blah, blah, blah battery. They go, what is that, mate? You go, oh, it's called a Onewheel because it's got one wheel. That's no, oh, it's a VESC. And a VESC means, you've lost the person you're talking to already. It's like the sensible thing would be what Red Bull do. Red Bull do not make go-karts that go down hills, but they sponsor the Red Bull go-karting that goes downhill.
Exactly.
Yeah. That makes perfect sense. You see all the different things where they've got like the bikes going over the water edge and on the ramps and stuff like that, and all the trick stuff they do. That is just to promote the brand because people share those videos constantly. Imagine if Onewheel sponsored or had some element of sponsorship in all of the different American events, and bless them, we exist as well over here in Europe. Some sponsorship into our events that. It would just be absolutely everywhere. Their branding would be everywhere and they would sell more boards. That I may have done business studies when I was 16 for a year, but that still makes sense to me,
And in the end, like the most people, definitely the good riders are going to make their own boards and they're not going to create a second board just for the ORL race because they will not be prepared on that board throughout the season. And as you said, Mark, if they would support all of the boards, it would indeed sell Onewheels in the end because people see people riding on a Onewheel and they would want to get a Onewheel. Where do they go? Future Motion is the most likely option for a beginner. So it would definitely benefit them.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think I think we're at this, I don't want to say a critical point in the sport, but there's no denying that things have been like on a little bit of a decline. That a lot of that is just the state of the world. There's less people with money to throw around, less people with time to take off to go out to events and things like that. So you're in a situation, there's just lower participation in general. Like I said, in a perfect world, I do respect and I like their idea for the race structure, but I'm just worried that it's not the time to divide people up like this and make the events feel even smaller than they already are. And they are I respect the amount of money they're putting into the different ORL races. Actually have pretty serious prize pools. I think the pro classes are 2,500 for first place, 1,000 for second place. So with a sport as small as we are, those are very solid prize pools.
Hell yeah.
But I'm worried that combining all this in this point in time of the sport, you're just going to have classes that don't have a ton of people fighting for this big amount of money. And it's going to put a bad taste in their own mouth. And they're not going to want to, I'm afraid they're not going to want to support it in the future because I have a feeling of how this season's going to turn out with ORL. I really think the best scenario here would just be investing those resources into not specific race circuits or regulations or whatever, but just showing people what these events are about and putting them on a spotlight. Because I'm sure you guys have experienced it and seen the experience happen to so many other people. It just takes one event to someone just needs to come out to one event and they experience that community and those trails and that ride experience, and you're hooked and you're suddenly buying more Onewheel parts and coming out to more events and doing more, that you're putting in money that invests into the sport further. You're telling other people about it, sharing social media and posts about it. And that's what grows the sport. So as much as I want to big prize pools and want a ton of money if I get first place and things like that, I don't think it's quite the right direction we need to go with the resources we're putting in. And they're the company that has the most resources to prop this sport up, So we'll see what happens. I just feel I'm just worried about how it'll go for their sake. I hope it's successful, but
yeah. you certainly don't want them to dig in. That's the fear that I have, that they'll go, no, this is the way we're doing it. And when you look at, you see all the different the social media adverts they do and stuff like that, the attitude is really, really relaxed. It's really, really cool. They are the community. They've got riders with them that are part of the community, and they must get this stuff across to them all the time, because you see that in their social media posts. But I really don't want them to become corporate. Well, they are already corporate. There are investors. You've got to make money. Let's not forget that. Mm-hmm. But there's an element of, don't dig in and go, no, this is the way we're going to do it. And I don't care how anybody else does it, because there's 3 events that are doing the ORL official races, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 15 or 16 others that aren't in the States alone. Doesn't make sense. But let's talk about the events. Let's talk about where we are. What are we? 43 minutes, ladies and gentlemen. We'll get there.
Gonna have to cut that.
I knew it was going to be a long one. So looking at the list, I've got them all very helpfully stolen from the Float Life website. Thank you. The first one you've got comes up in April, which is the Lemonade Float Fest. I'm saying that right, in Texas, Austin, Texas.
That's not actually the first one. I'm not sure. Technically, look, we've got 2 before that.
Oh, no, sorry. I did what I did on my list. You're right to correct me. I broke up my list in the way that you sectioned them out in your video, which I thought was really nice.
I got you.
So I'm looking at the top one, but it's not. We've actually got Let It Ride 5 in March. It's it's there. But yeah, so breaking it down, let's do it in I love the way you did that. The festivals element, the races, the group ride stuff was just, it was really, really nice. Did your team come up with that, or did you just kind of go, hang on a minute, this is how they all set out?
I knew I was going to do the video that way. I won't lie. I've been pretty busy with lots of things lately, and that video deadline came up. It just kept getting closer and closer, and it got to the point where I basically just wrote that script that morning. But I threw in some headphones, put on some like noise canceling, like ambient sound, and just locked in and wrote all that up. But yeah, in my mind, that makes I've always thought of the events that way. That there very much is sort of those 2 specific types of events, but for the majority of them, a lot of them are festivals, which are a lot more like social hangout and like lots of various activities and things like that. And of course, they've got racing, but it's all on like a property meant for festivals. And then you've got like true like trail races where you're just thrown into miles and miles of trails. And I personally, the first race I ever went to was Dirt Surfers, and that's a true like mountain bike trail enduro. So that kind of style has always had my heart. I'm also just a little bit antisocial, so that might also play a factor. I just like to ride trails all day.
We do have 2 enduro races this season in Europe as well. I'm pretty curious how that will turn out, because that's a new format for the European races. And it looks really cool just to go out on like these long distances and blast it off.
I think you guys will love it. It's a totally different sort of, I don't want to say skill set, but it's a different practice of like learning long distances of trail, because it's less about like dialing in every single little line so you can do it perfect the same every time. And it's more about your decision making on the fly, being able to almost sight read these trails, because it's so much trail that you can't memorize everything, right? And being a consistent enough rider that you're able to stay on your board for the entirety of it.
Yeah.
So, and balancing that like risk taking, risk management. It's really cool.
How long typically are the endurance races?
So I'll say there's a bit of like language discrepancy here too, because there's enduros and what some people call endurance races.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So a technical enduro means you're taking a number of like trail segments, typically like 6 or 7, sometimes a little bit more. And each of those segments are maybe a mile, half a mile, something like that. Just small chunks that you have the whole day to hit all the segments, 1 through 7 or however many there are. And you have to hit them in order. You only get 1 shot at each of them. It's like time trial. It depends on the race, but usually that ends up coming out to 20 to 30 minutes of total trail riding, which is like 7 or 8 miles. and it'll be the most intense and exhausting 7 or 8 miles of your life when you're actually pushing it on race day. So the little breaks in between are definitely welcome. But then, yeah, there's some races that are also like endurance races, which are typically also mass start, where everyone's on the trail at the same time. It's just one start and one finish. And that can go for like 30 minutes. Or I've seen some, there was something held in like San Diego or something like that 2 years ago that was like a 250-mile endurance race that require like multiple boards to be propped up at checkpoints or something like that. I don't know. Some people are crazy, but a typical like mass start endurance race is like 30 minutes. Yeah, but like continuous.
We have one in Hungary this year that will be 250 kilometers around Lake Balaton.
My gosh.
In 20 hours they have to do it.
We've been reminded that we forgot about that in the last episode.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
Promptly reminded that I was going to throw it in.
I mean, that kind of race is its own beast for sure. So it deserves its own whole episode.
We should get the Hungarians out here because they're very active. They have 7 events in Hungary alone this year. So really active community.
Very impressive work. So the enduro races you've got is dirt surfers, wheel scorcher, battle at the Butte. I want to say but it's Butte. And then I think in the list here I've got Camp Shred and the Windman Enduro as well.
Yeah. Yep, those are the big ones. Battle at the Butte, I'm actually not 100% on what kind of race structure they're going to go with. It's a brand new event. They're still dialing in. I think they were planning to have multiple different types of races at the event, but they might be focusing on just one. So I imagine it's probably going to be head-to-head racing. A lot of the West Coast really loves head-to-head racing for some reason. But yeah, not 100% sure on that one. Dirt Surfers, Wheel Scorcher, Windman Enduro, and Camp Shred are all races that they're set in fully established mountain bike trail systems. And they just throw you in. Like I said, it's multiple segments. So you just spend multiple days practicing, riding through the trail system with your friends, trying out features and conquering them, practicing different lines. It's just a really cool experience just being in the woods for that long. And like, you can't, there's no way to come out of it not being a better rider. You know, that's my favorite part of the experience, especially like people coming in with like very little trail experience and like no motivation. The first day they're like, what am I even doing here? And then by the end of the weekend, they're ripping the trails like no problem. You know, it's a really cool experience.
That's the cool thing about these events, that you can really in a couple of days, the group vibe of the whole event just pushes you so hard, and the things that you thought that you could not do, you just do them without thinking. And that's the beauty of these community events.
Yeah, one of the best parts is there's enough people that come out to these events that like, if you try, you're like guaranteed you can find someone that's at your skill level, but just a little bit higher, just that little bit enough that you can chase them down, and they're constantly pushing you just outside your comfort zone. So that's always been the most fun part for me.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yep. For me, I have for James P and Travis. They're my competition for 2026. Certainly Travis, one of the guys that's come around to a few of the events. He was injured at the last one in at Send It Surrey, so he didn't race quite as quick as he wants to. So he and I have pretty much, him and James P have always set almost the same time. Certainly at Shred the Shires, the same within a second of each other. So hence the footholds.
Yep,
I need to go faster. I need to land the features better, basically.
Yeah,
I can't be last out of the three. So
for real.
There's little competition going on there. Certainly can't win, but I can certainly try and do okay. So we've got the festival element side of things. So Lemonade Float Fest, Oak City, Seek and Shred Northwest Electric Fest, and the Float Life Fest. I want to go to all of those. I'd love to go to all of those. I mean, it's what we've set up at our event.
If you're gonna go to just one wheel event and like you don't know what you're looking for, you don't know what you want, you just know you like riding on one wheel, and you just want to experience what an event is like and what the community is like. A festival is probably the safest bet because festivals got a little bit of everything, right? They're almost all set in like festival venues where there's one big central area that everyone's just hanging out, and there's always different things going on. Music playing, there's races you can either participate in or watch and cheer along with everyone else and see people just sending it, you know. So the festival atmosphere is definitely the most welcoming. It's the most social, so you'll get to meet other riders and things like that. Because a lot of the like people still take the races seriously at a lot of the festivals, but at some of these enduro races, especially some of the top riders are like head in the trails. They're focused in practice, you know. So a festival is a little bit more of a welcoming atmosphere. I mean, they all are, but especially festivals.
It's just more of a relaxed
Yeah,
vibe, isn't it? I mean,
yeah.
the
It's
first
just
year
a
we
fun
held,
time, less stress,
yeah,
and the less pressure. You're just out there to have a good time, no expectations. So those are the ones to go to. And the nice thing is that there are events like I talked about in the video that are there's overlap, right? So
yeah,
the biggest one
yeah.
here is to mention in that regard is Lemonade Float Fest. Lemonade Float Fest is held at Reveille Peak Ranch in Texas near Austin, and it's a amazing like festival venue. They've had music festivals there, but they also have straight up miles of mountain bike trails there with legit jumps
Nice.
and features and things like that. And right across the road, there's a place called Spider Mountain that is, I think, the only like lift access mountain bike trail system in Texas.
Okay.
Only because Texas has like no elevation, so that's the highest
Yeah.
mountain they even have in Texas. But like if you're looking for a best of all worlds event, Lemonade Flow Fest is the one for sure. But there's enough social media content and stuff at all the different events that you can find what's close to you or close enough to you and just get it's pretty easy to get a feel like the vibes of each one, what the venue is like, what the atmosphere is like. Although honestly, like I said, any one of them, if you come out, if you like one wheeling, you're gonna have such a great time.
Yeah, I do. I do see it like in America. It's also a culture of just getting into the car and driving. Sometimes people have to drive 24, 36 hours to get to an event, and it's cool that you sometimes see people meet up. Like here, we last year had a dude that came from pretty far, and he hooked up everybody's board with his van on the way to Portugal, so that everybody had a cheap board transfer. So then you see all these kind of community things happening just because there's an event somewhere. So it's really cool to see that come together.
Yeah, one of my favorite parts is ever since I started going to events in 2021, is that there's so many people from back then that are still going to events now. But it's this whole like family almost that like you're going across the country and going to these different events, but like you're seeing a lot of the same faces there, familiar faces.
Yeah.
So you're just like hanging out with your friends in all these different parts of the country and these different types of trails, different terrain, but experiencing that together with people that you get to know over the years.
Yeah.
So that's just an awesome experience.
And then
For
we've got the group ride style events as you've put into the chat. So Stokebird, which is happening in next weekend.
Yep.
Is all kicking off, and then Camp Shredwood as well, which is way down there in August.
Yeah, these are I didn't know how best to group these but I wanted to talk about them because I want to see more of them. I feel like there's not enough of these. You got big festivals where like everyone's together and there's activities, but everyone's kind of like doing different things somewhat, and you're just like located in one single venue. But I like the idea of these events that are focused on these like big group rides. We're going out and experiencing a broader location like together. And like there's no races to worry about. So everyone's kind of on the same page with their expectations of the event and the energy they're going into the event with. Everyone's just there to hang out and ride. And like that's basically it. Whatever happens from there is just like natural progression of the event. But there's like a less structured schedule. You're just getting everyone together to just ride. And some of my best times personally have been when I've taken personal trips with like groups of friends to go out. Like I've done this a number of times in Bentonville, Arkansas. We just get a whole crew and go out there, get an Airbnb or a couple Airbnbs, and just spend the week riding trails around there. Like no race, there's no event going on. We're just riding somewhere new and having fun and enjoying like the company of each other as riders. Those have been some of my favorite memories riding. So I think more events that kind of encourage that experience of like not having to worry about racing as much as I love racing. not having to worry about a trick competition or music festivals or things like that. Just people coming together for like the purest form of the sport, just riding a one wheel, you know. I'd love to see more of that. So I wanted to highlight those two events because they're also distinct in that one is more focused on like a street group rides in Miami. And then another one is in the Mendocino woods. And you're just in the trees the whole time and just enjoying sick trails with your friends. So different vibes, but the same kind of idea.
I think that kind of stretches to what Vinie and I have said quite a few times over the last couple of years of doing the podcast, is that if someone wants an event to happen in their area, look at how to put it on. I was looking at your Float Life video.
The
and
comments
the comments, and some of the guys was like, hey, why doesn't somebody put something on in New York City? I'm like, why don't you put something on in New York City? If you are that passionate, it's, you know, particularly if it's just going to be a group ride setup, there's no kind of responsibility of that. It's just set some dates and set some locations and just
absolutely
carry on, particularly in the States where you guys can ride pretty much anywhere. You know,
that's what I don't think it processes for a lot of people that at the end of the day, this is a small sport. It's a niche thing. And these community events exist because people stepped up to the plate to run it. And then enough people came out to that and experienced that and was on board with that experience that they continued to support it and volunteer to help out in future years to help build it up to be a bigger and bigger thing. But someone has to have the courage and the commitment to take that first step and try to do something. Now, New York might be a tougher location. I don't know what you're going to be able to do there in a group.
New York State.
Setting.
Should we just say New York State then, perhaps, rather than New York City?
Yeah. You might have to go out a bit ways to find some trails, but
you used to have Slide Oak Straw running around in the streets, and Casey with his electric skateboard. So there must be some opportunities. Nothing can hold you back if you have the motivation.
There's definitely people putting on, especially it doesn't need to be a big event. Just join your local Facebook group and people got group rides all the time. That's basically just group rides are essentially just mini events in a way.
Yeah.
You know, it's the same kind of thing. Just people coming together as part of a community to just ride. So
yeah. And the social media makes it so easy to get people together. You can just make a Facebook event or share some posts on Instagram, get people together and go shredding.
Exactly. People just assume that other people are going to do that for them. But there's nothing stopping you from helping getting word out and sharing your experiences or getting other people to come out and ride with you. You just have to have that courage to step up and know that there are definitely other people out there that would be down. There's other people that are in the same boat as you waiting for someone else, you know? So if you're that person, those other people that are waiting will step up. And then you get to be that guy and everyone loves you. Who wouldn't want that?
These things just continue. I mean, when you get the group rides together, like 2 weeks ago, we met up at a local forest. It had been raining. It's been raining in Europe for what was it? In England, it had rained every day since the 1st of January until the middle. I think it's still in England somewhere. It's been raining every single day since the 1st of January. I will point out, folks, for those of you interested in Shred the Shires, it's perfect, by the way. It might have been raining every day, but my field drains beautifully. But anyway, we all met up in this massive forest, and within, I think it was 3 days, one of the guys had sold his GT to someone who hadn't come on a group ride with us before, and then had gone and bought a GT XL. And that was just from that one meeting. He was like, I've got the Pint S. He's done like 4,000 miles on his Pint S around his local city, but never goes on trails, and just came out for one ride. He was like, I love this, but I need a bigger board. I need a board with a bit more power. And it just goes from that. So if you want to have an event, as you say, every group ride is an event, whether that's 5 of you or 50 of you or 500 of you. But yeah, put them on, definitely. So what is your favorite event? Rather than trying to scale it down for the last sort of 5 years, last year, just go for the last 12 months.
No, we'll say all favorite event? I mean, at the end of the day, all the events that are happening like year to year, a lot of them have been around for years. So it is kind of the same thing. But like I said, the Enduro style by far my favorite, especially if I'm traveling a long distance to somewhere. For me, what makes a long trip like that most worth it is throwing myself into what's unique to that location, which is the trails. Trails in Arkansas are completely different than the trails in North Carolina, way different than the trails in Ohio or Wisconsin or California. They're all very unique experiences. So if I'm going out all the way to Arkansas from California to ride trails, I'm going to ride Arkansas trails all day.
Yeah.
You can't stop me. Right? So in that vein, my favorite events are my two favorites in that enduro category, which are dirt surfers and windman enduro. They both have like special places in my heart, not only because I probably just enjoy those trails the most out of any event I've gone to, but also dirt surfers was my very first event. It's what got me hooked, and 5 years later has gotten me to uproot my entire life to California and continue doing this one wheel stuff to this day. And then Windman Enduro was the first big race that I've taken first place in. So that's like an awesome memory for me and a really cool experience. But Windman Enduro also is pretty unique in like the features that they have on the trail. They have lots of like pro specific features that some of my favorite event memories have been there, and just going out with a group of guys to these features and conquering them, seeing everyone try it out. Because once one person, like everyone will start scared, and then one person tries it and they almost land it, and everyone's like looking at each other like, oh, that's possible. Well, like we're doing this. And then that energy just builds up more and more. And before you know it, you have multiple people hitting this massive step up jump that like no one thought was even possible 5 minutes ago. And now we're doing it like as the race line in the race because it's 10 seconds faster, you know? So those kinds of experiences, and coming back to there year after year to now be the guy that's helping out the newer riders conquer these features, and seeing that sort of like light bulb experience for everyone year after year. I think I have to say Windman Enduro has become my favorite just for that. It's my favorite part of the year, just seshing the features with everyone. It's the best.
Excellent, man. Excellent. I've got probably one other. I've got one question that my team literally before the meeting for our chat tonight. I had a team meeting for our event, and they asked me to ask you one question. But another one was one of our team members, Gary, who does all of our merch. GB Merch does all of our merch. So if you want some merch, people, for your events, GB merchandise, Gary will get it sent anywhere across the world. And he does damn good prices as well. But he wanted me to thank you for doing your GT and GTS settings video a little while ago. He said he learned an awful lot from that when he just sat down. He said he explained it really, really, really simply so even I could understand. I was like, excellent. I will tell him. So Gary is very, very grateful for that.
For sure. Yeah, that was one that I had wanted to do for over a year before I ended up making it. I think almost like 2 years at that point. Because I was waiting for the longest time for Onewheel to put something out like that. I was like, they programmed it. They understand the settings better than I do. The best I can do is spend hours going back and forth in a parking lot, like slightly tweaking settings and really trying to figure out what these things are actually doing to the board just by ride feel. I think I spent so much time on it, but I think I finally got a good enough understanding to be able to make a in-depth video like that. But I was really hoping Onewheel would do it first, so I wouldn't have to. But and at some point that just became wishful thinking, and I knew it had to be done. So I'm really glad it's helped a lot of people.
Excellent. And the final question I have, and it probably comes from a lot of people that will be listening, because we get most of our listeners and watchers are from Europe, is Jeff going to pay for you to come over and compete in Europe at any time soon?
I don't know.
He paid for himself to come over. I mean,
he did. He's a little selfish with that one for sure. I'd love to come out.
Come on, Jeff.
I very much want to come out there so badly. There's so many people in the community that I've talked to online for years and still have never gotten to meet in person. You guys have a totally different atmosphere and like culture with the events out there. And also I'd like to see how I stack up and see how things play out when I got my own board out there, you know? So that would be so fun. I absolutely want to, and will. One of these days we'll make it happen.
We do not allow remotes, though.
Yeah.
That's kind of the only thing
The
that we
only
don't
thing,
allow.
isn't it?
I'll take the challenge. I will take the challenge. I will take the challenge.
Yeah, I think that is the only thing that isn't allowed, pretty much.
I think so.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
It's understandable.
Knives, guns, bows, whatever you like, but no remotes.
Yeah.
No remotes.
But no remotes.
Understandable.
All right. Nico, so thank you so much to join us and to shine a light on the American side of things. We're already very curious because we have some people from Europe that are making some plans to go to these events in the States. So if you want to go there, check out the site of the Float Life. I think that's where you can find the best overview of all the American events that will happen. And just choose wisely if you cross the pond.
Yeah, if you go to the Float Life, thefloatlife.com, and I think it's under like a more section on the website.
Yeah. I saw it this afternoon. I was looking at it.
Yeah, there's a button for the 2026 One Wheel events. Or if you just Google 2026 One Wheel events, you'll find the video and probably the link straight to the calendar, so you can check them out for yourself. And if you ever honestly have any questions about the events you're trying, like if there's just one thing that's like keeping you from coming out to an event, honestly, just shoot me a DM. I get enough DMs anyways. Why not more? Shoot me a DM on like Instagram at tech.nico, TECH, tech.nico1 on Instagram. And maybe I can help you out with making that final call on what event to go out to, or just to come out to any event at all. If you come out to one, I promise you will not regret it, regardless of what event you go to. So whatever helps you make that first step is worth it.
Good to know. Thank you so much.
Brilliant. Thank you for coming along. I want to say tonight, because it's nearly 9 o'clock for me. It's nearly 10 o'clock for Vinie. But for you, it's like lunchtime, I assume, by now.
I'm late for lunch right now.
Wow. We won't hold you up from lunch any longer, though. Thank you so much for coming along and chatting to us today.
For sure. Thank you for having me on. I loved it. I'm sorry if I rambled a bit, especially with the footholds.
Everyone is so used to me rambling, man. I ramble constantly. I have to edit out my ramble. You got Vinie knows, but you guys have no idea how much I edit out the crap that I come out with. Those that know me know. So you didn't ramble at all, I tell you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. I really appreciate it.
All right, and hope to see you on one of the events somewhere in the States or in Europe.
Europe, for sure. All right, take it easy, guys.
Thank you. Bye-bye. So yeah, a really cool dude. I didn't actually realize he was involved in the software development of the Floatlight stuff. It's actually pretty logic if you look at it, but I didn't make the link or the connection.
Well, no, I remember when Float Control came out, it was a year or so ago, and I looked at it and they were doing a whole kind of just download it. The $20 will really help us out to get it, make it work and stuff like that. And I thought, well, I know I'm going to VESC one of my boards, and I was like in the process of trying to do cryptocurrency to get one of the pint dropping kits. So I thought, fuck it, I'll do that. But when I got the first pint, I just used the VESC app to completely balance the board and get it all working. But then I did the pint one first, then I did the XR, and I used Float Control for sort of part of that. And then I did my GT Fungineers, and I just used Float Control. It was just so easy to set up the board, painfully easy, like embarrassingly compared to using the VESC tool to try and go through this and watch Surf Dado again and again and again explain exactly how to do, because I just wasn't taking it in on like repeat on a tablet in my garage going, what was that setting? But
it just goes too fast.
Just did it, and I've not had to do anything since. So yeah, it was a fantastic app that he helped he developed. But I was interested to hear about the actual product development as well. So he's living a life, that man, I tell you.
Yeah, man, looking good. He's living at large. On a big board.
Fucking big board.
Yeah.
Big tire gang.
Big tire gang. I still need to go there somewhere. I already have the rails. I just still need to eat the tire. So yeah, one step at a time.
It certainly seems to be the season for the big tire gang anyway. And that's going to be going forward. How small can they make these damn hubs?
Yeah, 5 inches pretty small. And I've even heard some people that are coming back from the 5-inch hub, because if you actually have a 6-inch hub with a big tire, you should get enough cushioning to get the most bumps and lumps out of there. So it's interesting to see how things are developing and people getting some experience like with those tools now.
Yeah.
In the beginning, everybody wanted one, but now you see the different opinions and the experience. So it's cool to see where it's going and how it's evolving. Definitely not the 6.5 inch side of things. Nope. Nope. All right. I think we blabbered enough for tonight. We thank you a lot for sticking with us. Share the episode wherever you want, and we will appreciate a like and a comment.
Absolutely. I reply to every single comment as well, because I think it's just polite more than anything else. Not that I have loads of free time, but if people comment, I always aim to reply one way or another. So yeah, like, comment, share, do all that crap that you're supposed to do to help drive the episode out there, because we enjoy doing it and we want to get up to another 27 more episodes.
For real. So see you on the next one. Mark, take it home.
Definitely. Please, given the injuries, keep that nose up. For real. So hurts.
All right.
My hip really fucking hurts.